YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today, guys, we'll be talking about another deck showcase, and that is with the Chimeras. Now, a ton of contents are going to be coming in by this coming April or within the month of April. We are not sure on what cards that's going to be coming in by next week of the 11th, but just a brief rundown. We'll have the Alter Guy supports, the Rescue A supports, which is the emergency and the preventer. It's a long time coming for those two cards to be added into the game. The new archetype, which are the Chimeras, which is kind of good as well. Samsara, the one card that is still missing with the Vanadium deck. It's just basically a cherry on top of the cake. Mechanical support, we have the Purely Noir or the Little Noir, the Evil Czar cards, which is kind of good as well for the Unchained, and lastly, a new monster type, which are the Illusions. But nevertheless, what we'll talk about today are the Chimeras. So just the typical showcase, we'll go with the core deck list and then the Master Duel deck list afterwards. So without further ado, let's go for the core deck list. So core deck list, core cards that you'll basically need in a Chimera deck are these cards right here. So 5 cards in total for the main deck and then 3 cards in total for the extra deck. The new illusions are kind of good. It's kind of insane that they can't be destroyed by battle. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the fusion cards. The Chimera fusion is typically a quick spell or a quick play spell, so that's pretty insane. You can add this with a copy of your Big Wing Baphomet, or you get a hold of that with the help of your Mythical Claws. Now, the Chimera Fusion, it works the same way as a regular fusion card. The thing about this, it is a quick play spell, and you can use it during your opponent's turn. And if this card is in your graveyard while you have a Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast card on the field face up, you can just bounce this back from the graveyard back to your hand and then set this during your opponent's turn. We'll talk about what purpose that will do in the game later on. But yeah, this on copies, it usually depends on what deck you're playing. For me, I've played this on a Brand Despia deck and also a pure version. The pure version is on 3 copies. The Brand Despia, you can run 2 to 3 copies of this depending on the number of slots available for you for this card. Now, Cornfield Cuddle is a different statement as well. You can discard this card from your hand, add 1 monster that mentions the Chimera Fusion, so typically your Mirror Swordsman. That's basically it. The best part about this is, as long as you have the Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast on the field, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard, negate the effect of any of your opponent's monster that targets any of your cards. So that's still a really good card effect as an interruption as well. That's really good. For the number of copies for the Cornfield Cuddle, you'll have basically, or you'll need typically 3 copies of this, just so this can search out a copy of your Mirror Swordsman. And then we have here your Big Wing Baphomet. So this card, once normal or spiral summon, you can add 1 level 4 beast monster and 1 Chimera Fusion directly from your deck to your hand. Typically, the way that you can summon this to the field by the means of your Mirror Swordsman once you tributed the Mirror Swordsman. You can just gain access to the level 4 beast monster, which is your Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws, and 1 copy of Chimera Fusion just by the help of the Baphomet. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for your fusion summon, you can target 1 illusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it to the field. So your typical targets for this is your Mirror Swordsman after you use the Mirror Swordsman's effect as a tribute. That's kind of good as well. The number of copies or the copies that you'll need for this in the deck, since this is a level 5 monster, you typically just need 2 copies of this just in case you want to summon this during your opponent's turn and give you a +2 on hand. That's kind of good. Next up, we'll have the Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws. If this card is normal or spiral summon, you can add 1 level 5 Fiend monster or 1 Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand, and easy access to your Chimera Fusion spell card or your Big Wing Baphomet, but I think this is basically just material fodder for your fusion monster, but it's still a really good card. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a fusion summon, you can add 1 illusion monster from your deck to your hand. So typical targets for this is either your Mirror Swordsman or your Cornfield Cuddle, but I would advise going for the Cuddle first. Discard the Cuddle, gain access to your Mirror Sword Knight or Swordsman. Either way, that's basically your target right there. And lastly, we have the last monster for your main deck. We have the Mirror Sword Knight. So the primary focus for this is normal summon your Mirror Sword Knight, tribute this, and gain access to the Baphomet on the field. And then Baphomet will search out your Gazelle, and then the Chimera Fusion. When a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, while you control the Chimera, the flying mythical beast, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard, negate the effect. So another good interruption on top of the Coddle effect. So that's really good. As long as you have the Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast on the field, which is also treated as Chimera, the flying mythical beast. Now for your extra decks. Oh yeah, with regards to the number of copies, Mirror Sword Knight on 3 copies. So that's basically it. For the extra deck, we have here the Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast. So its effect states, once you fusion summon this card, you can send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard during the end phase. During your opponent's turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target 1 beast, fiend, or illusion monster from your graveyard, special summon it. So another good target for this is the Big Wing Baphomet or either one of your Sword Knights. So that's still pretty good. With regards to the number of copies, I do agree just settling with 2 copies if you're running a hybrid of Branded and Chimera, or if you're running a Pure. I think if you're running Pure, just go with 3 copies. It's still pretty good though on 3 copies. But on a hybrid for the Branded, go for 2 copies because you need more slots in your extra deck for that matter. For the copy of Baphomet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beast, you need 1 copies for this in your hybrid deck for the Branded and the Chimeras. On a pure version, just go for 2 copies. Yeah, it's okay though. The effects are okay. I don't really use the effect that much because you just send monsters to the graveyard unless you lack the Cornfit Coddle or the copy of Mirror Knight in the graveyard. Another cool effect for this one, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one of your banished beast or fiend monsters or illusion monsters, and then spell summon it to the field. So another recycler if ever one of your Coddle or your Sword Knight is going to be banished from the graveyard. And lastly, we have the Chimera, the Illusion Beast. Now, typically you need the Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, which is this one here on the field as a material, plus 1 illusion monster on the field. This card can attack monsters a number of times each battle up to the number of materials used for its fusion summon. If this card battles a monster, neither player can be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can change the opponent's monster's attack to 0. Also negate its effect. So a really good card. I think if you're running a pure version, just go with 1 copy for the Illusion Beast. If you're running a hybrid, I don't think this is going to be a worthwhile card to use because of the this one here. It's not really generic as a material. So just settle with none. Or 0 to 1 if you feel like using this in a Branded SP deck. But on a pure version, just go with 1 copy. It's not half bad, but you know, you don't want to use it too much. So with that is the core cards that you'll basically need in a Chimera deck. So let's move towards the Master Duel deck list for the Chimeras. Alright, so this is my version for the Chimera deck as a pure version. There's no like mixture of Branded into this, and I've researched on this one as well. So, with regards to this one, I think this is from the Age of Overlord Illusion Monster, so I'm not sure if we'll have this. If you don't get this card, you can just add another copy of Nibiru or any hand trap, effect veiler or something. But still pretty good though. If you have this, better you just use it. With regards to the number of cards, it's still going to be the same. Like I said earlier, 3 copies of Sword Knight, Mythical Claws on 3, and the Coddle on 3 copies, and the Chimera Fusion on 3 copies. For the extra deck, we're running the Guardian Chimera since this is still a Chimera card. Also, it works well with the Chimera Fusion as well. And you can use this during your opponent's turn as it's kind of like a Branded in red, but instead of banishing your cards, it'll just be in the graveyard. So that's pretty cool. And then we're using Super Polys because this is an insanely good card for Fusion decks. Like I said earlier in my prediction ban list, a really insanely good card as a board breaker. So we'll have the Garuras, the copy of Madragon, and things like that, yada yada yada. And yeah, typical cards that you'll basically need: Edge and Chain, plus the copy of Polymerization and the Patchwork. But anyways, that is a pure version for the Chimeras. Let's go towards our last deck list that we'll use using the Branded. Okay, doke, so here we are with the Branded Despia deck plus the Chimeras. Now, this is the best way of playing Branded as what I learned from the high or the better players out there for Yu-Gi-Oh! So they said 60 cards are the best way to play a Branded deck. So we are gonna take that into accord. So here we are. We are running the Bestial package as well with the Bestial Rebellion. The one of each for the Bestial Saronir Magnamut and what's the other one? Drew Swerve. Albaz on 3. We have the Guiding Quim on 3. 2 copies of your Blazing Cartesia. 2 copies of Kit. The 1 copy of Brand Fusion. And this is basically like a one card starter for your combos as well, which is kind of nice. 3 copies of Albion, dumping a copy of your Branded Retribution. The normal stuff for this type of deck as well. The extra deck, we are not running Super Poly here. That's why we're not even adding or considering in adding the Garura or even the Mad Dragon in the extra deck, because this extra deck is kind of tight. We really need to have 2 copies for the Chimera. You can summon the Chimera every turn if you wish, as long as you have the copies of Chimera in your graveyard, or in your extra deck, I mean. The 2 copies of Mirjid is kind of necessary. You can run with 1, but I don't think that will be like fully using the extra deck to its capacity. And then we have the 2 Albions just for a discard or sent to the graveyard with the use of Mirjade. The 1 copy of Coritis for you can send by the help of Granganul. We are just running with 1 copy of Lebellion. You can just recycle this with its own effect. And then we're using the Mythical King on 1 copy and the 2 copies of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast. That is our lineup or our deck list as a 60 card pile for the branded Despia Chimera deck. I will showcase just a quick combo with the deck and how you actually can play this. So with that, let's go towards our gameplay showcase. Alright guys, so here we are with the gameplay showcase. The 1 copy of Branded Fusion can get you a long way with this deck. So let's just say we only have a copy of Branded Fusion here, or let's say we go for a copy of Branded Opening first, just so that we can use this effect. Send this one to the graveyard, spell summon the Alubur, yada yada yada, gain access to the Branded Fusion. So take note, we haven't used our normal summon just yet. So okay, so let's start. We got a copy of Branded Fusion, so let's start our typical combo if ever you'll get this copy here. There we go. Branded Fusions, Spiritual Summon our Rindrum, and the purpose for this is we can send a copy of Gazelle to the graveyard and an Albaz. Now the purpose for sending Gazelle is that Gazelle can gain access to an illusion card. We always get the Coddle here because we'll have the Coddle in the graveyard for an interruption during your opponent's turn. So use the effect, send that to the graveyard, search out a copy of Mirror Knight. Our normal summoner Mirror Knight here. So use the effect of Mirror Knight, tribute it, spell summon the Gazelle, I mean the Baphomet here. So once Baphomet is spell summoned, we gain access to 1 Chimera Fusion and 1 Beast Monster here. So we already got the Chimera Fusion, but let's say we don't have the Chimera Fusion. And then gain access here, the Gazelle. We can also gain access to the kit if you already have the Gazelle on hand, but this is kind of good though. So we go copy, or get a copy of Gazelle. Use the Chimera Fusion, and then summon the Phantom Beast with this and this. We'll summon to the field, Chain Link 1. During the end phase, we remove 1 card from our opponent's hand. And for the Baphomet, spell summon 1 illusion monster from the graveyard, which is our Mirror Knight. The Coddle needs to be in the graveyard in case our opponent will target our card. The Mirror Knight is typically just a failsafe if ever they're trying to attack us for game. So this card can't be destroyed, then that is pretty good. We'll use the effect of Chimera Fusion here since we have a face-up King of the Mythical Beast Monster in the field. Spin that back or bounce that back to our hand. Set that for our follow-up for our opponent's turn and end our turn. So that is basically our board right there. So we have 1 discard there. Salaman, great, that's cool. So with this, we can chain with a copy of Mirror Knight. Spell summon again our copy of Baphomet from our deck. And with that, Baphomet again will search out the copies. But I think we already got the... We can search out the kit here and a copy of Gazelle. We'll get the kit. We'll get the kit. So that's good. So our guy is gonna do something. Sure. Cool. Negate the effect with the effect of Mirror Knight. There we go. And then he summoned the monster. We'll go for the Chimera Fusion here and we'll summon this one right here. So this one, tribute that, and then tribute the Mirror Knight. Spell summon the Guardian Chimera. Use the effect of Guardian Chimera, and then the effect of Baphomet. Spell summoning another illusion monster from our graveyard. So there we go. Destroy, destroy, draw one card, and that is basically what will happen. So we have an additional draw. 2 cards from the copy of the Baphomet. We have a good board. So with that, we can do this again. Use the effect of, or during our turn, we can use the effect of Kit. Spell summon the Kit. Gain access to our Brand Fusion from our graveyard. Spin back 1 or bounce back 1. We can bounce back this. Or spin back, I mean. Use the effect of Branded Fusion. Use the effect of Rebellion. Dump Kit. Go for this. For this on a copy of this. But yeah, that's it. Basically, we can go for game. So that is basically our showcase with the Chimera deck, boys and girls. How well did you know this deck? It is pretty nice though. With a hybrid of branded and the Chimera, I think it's just okay, but I think you're better off with just the branded deck in total. But it is a really good or a new deck that you can use though. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next showcase. Hopefully we'll tackle our altar guys in the next video. Anyways, that's it for today. Keep safe, good luck. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.